One of the first things that you'll want to do in Live 12 is save your work. So I've got a default project open here. And let me start by saying that we use different terminology in Ableton Live, and an actual project is often referred to as a set, whereas if we were working in Pro Tools or Logic, we might call it a session. But I'll use the words project and set and session interchangeably as we work our way through this course. So to save a live set, all we need to do is go up to the File menu and drop down and choose Save Live Set. This allows us to give it a name, and so I'm just going to call this Test. And I'll go ahead and click Save. Now let me briefly hide Ableton Live so we can get out to the desktop. And we can see that we've got a folder out here that's named Test Project. And inside that project folder, there's a file here called test.als, and that stands for Ableton Live Set. So that's our actual file that contains the work that we're doing here. And as we do other work, we'll see other subfolders pop up in this test project. Go back to Ableton Live. So as I work, I might want to create an updated version of that live set. So I'll go in and I'll go File, Save Live Set As. Let's call this Test Version 2. And this time, when I hide Ableton Live, we'll notice that there is still the project folder, and inside that folder, now I have two versions of that project. I've got Test and I've got Test Version 2. So let's say hypothetically I've finished that and I want to move on. So I'll go up to the menu here and I'll go File, New Live Set. And it closes the previous one, and now I'm working in an untitled live set. So if I go File and I go Save Live Set, I want to point out that Ableton is pointing us into the original project folder. So I'll call this one New Live Set. And I'll go ahead and click Save. And let me hide that. And if we take a look now, we can see that we've got three versions in here. I've got Test Version 2, and now I've got New Live Set. And I want to warn you about this because if this is actually a really different project, it's very likely that I don't want to commingle the work inside of one project folder. So what I should have done was gone File, and then when I did Save Live Set, I should have changed the save location. Now I can still do that here, and I'll do that by going Save Live Set, and I'll put this back to the desktop, and now I'll create New Live Set. And again, if I hide Ableton, I can see now that there are two project folders out here. I've got one called Test Project, and I've got one called New Live Set Project. And if I go inside that one, I can see that I've got something called New Live Set. Okay, so as you continue to work, you may want to take your work to another location on another computer. And it's very likely that the computer you're working on has different content on it than the one that you might work at a friend's house or at a studio somewhere. So before you move your live set or move your work to another computer, you're going to want to take advantage of one of Live's really nice features. And that is, I'm going to go up to File, and I'm going to choose Collect All and Save. What this will do will be to take all of the media files that we're currently using and give us the option to save all that content into our live set. So I'll go Collect All and Save, and it's going to give us options for where we want to pull stuff. So files from elsewhere could just be folders on your computer. Files from other projects would be any content that you're using that actually came from a different project. Files from the user library or the factory packs would pull any samples or any other loops or things like that that you're using from the user library, or the factory packs. Now here you want to be a little bit careful because some of that content could be quite large. For example, if you're using a grand piano sample in your live set, that sample could include several samples of different velocities for each key on the piano, and you could literally increase the size of your live set more than a gigabyte by including that material. So typically I'll scan through my live set and see if I'm using any content like that. And if I am, let me cancel out of that. I'll right-click on that track and I'll use this freeze and flatten track, which will turn that MIDI track. In this case, I'm on an audio track, but that piano would probably be on a MIDI track. But it would convert that MIDI track into an audio track. And so when I go to save that content, it won't be pulling all those files out of your factory packs or out of your user library. So it's always a great idea to go in here, go collect all and save, choose the options that you want to use. In this case, maybe I'll pull only files from elsewhere and files from other projects. I'll click OK. It quickly saves that stuff, and I'm ready to go. So now that you understand Ableton's folder and file structure, you'll be able to save and keep your projects organized.